I'm only on my 4th day of the World Watercolor Challenge and I can already feel myself struggling. Why do so many people do these challenges? In this video, while I paint, I'm going to talk about what I'm struggling with and how I'm navigating that. And hopefully some of these points will resonate with you too. So art challenges have gotten really popular, and they've probably been popular for way longer than I've even been aware of them. There are things like the 100-Day Challenge, World Watercolor Month, which is on right now, Inktober, and probably tons more. Apparently they're really good for building community and also helpful in developing a daily art practice. And it's both of those reasons that have drawn me towards doing World Watercolor this month. So yeah, this month, which is July 2025, it's World Watercolor Month, and there's an official prompt list that's put out by Doodle Wash. But when I checked it out, I could see future me still struggling with deciding on what to paint. I tried to make it as easy as possible for myself. To do that, I needed to reduce the amount of decisions I needed to make. I decided to use some color meditation cards that you've seen in my previous 3 videos, 1 set of paints and 1 sketchbook. The first 2 days, I really enjoyed the exercises, and they inspired me to want to keep going and get excited about the next day. But then I hit a bump in the road today. I think because I was less excited about yesterday's painting, and therefore I was less excited to carry on with similar exercises today. I know these should be easy to get started, but I can't help feeling I should be doing more, like doing harder paintings or more of a challenge. Can you relate to this, or am I just a weirdo? So what do I think is going on? Well, I've been reading a book about focus and flow, and one of the key elements to feeling like you're in flow is that you're taking on a challenge that's a little bit hard for you, but not too hard that you're frustrated. I suspect the paint strength exercise yesterday just didn't scratch the itch for me in terms of feeling inspired to play with my paints more. Probably because it wasn't that right level of challenging for me, because I've done them tons of times before. The first 2 days that I did of World Watercolor Month weren't hard per se, but they felt more creative. And I had more opportunities for unexpected results in the way that I did those. Whereas the paint strength and water control exercise that I posted yesterday was literally all about control, which is fine and helpful to do when practicing. It just didn't inspire me. So what am I going to do about it? I have 2 options. I could quit and decide it was a rubbish idea, or I could persevere. To be honest, quitting would be the easiest, and what I probably would have done if I hadn't decided to make these videos this month. I know I could still quit and stop making the daily videos. I'm sure anyone watching this would be just fine if this is the last one I published for this month. But part of why I started this YouTube channel was to create a mechanism to hold myself accountable to making art, because I feel better when I make art. It helps me with stress, general mood, and even self-esteem. So I'm not going to quit, but I need to find a way to stay mentally engaged in the month-long challenge. I don't want to just dial it in and make pretty videos just for the sake of creating content. I had the most fun with the loose abstract I made in my second Watercolor Month video. So that's why I'm doing this one tonight. Maybe I can find some ways to be creative with other prompts in that watercolor meditations deck, but for now, I'll keep checking in with myself on what is exciting for me versus what's killing my mojo. Tonight, this was super freeing. I threw away the idea of even using the palette I'd been using, and I got out these dishes of leftover paint. And the top one that you see is a Da Vinci Payne's Grey that I have actually in a tube. So I have a lump of it in that little dish that I just refresh whenever I need it. But those other 4 paints are literally just leftover mixes of goodness knows what from other paintings I've done. And I have a bunch of these dishes stacked up on a shelf next to where I sit. And so tonight I thought, well, if I'm just going to go crazy and loose and just have some fun, why bother pulling out my paints out of that palette? I'm just going to use some colors that I've already mixed up and use some of these up and see what I can make with it. And you know what? I've enjoyed it. And there's some pretty nice colors in there, and, you know, waste not, want not. So the other thing I tried to do was use unconventional watercolor tools tonight. So I know I've got a watercolor brush in my hand right now in the video, but you saw earlier in the painting I was using the cheapest possible brush I could find from the hardware store. It's not for watercolors at all. It's just a very, very cheap ratty decorator's brush. And I was also using a palette knife. And I chose those because I wanted to see what kind of different marks I could make with watercolor. Trying to find something different in the way I applied the paint to what I did 2 videos ago in the other abstract watercolor flow video. And it was fun using those tools. I really like using palette knives with acrylic paint. I haven't used them too much with watercolor, and obviously it's quite different, but I like that you can scrape into it and make lines in the paper by dragging the pigment across, like what I'm doing right now. So really my goal for this piece is, if it's not a pretty picture, that's fine. But I wanted to have some fun and trigger some ideas that I might want to experiment with next time. Another thing I wanted to do, I knew going in, was do some kind of diagonal composition and also really be mindful about white space, because it's something that I really struggle to leave is enough white space on my paper, especially when I'm doing abstracts in watercolor. So this is a growth opportunity, and I figured, why not capture that as part of this challenge this month, if it's what keeps me engaged and interested. Okay, so I'm all done with the painting and just making some notes on here so I don't forget what I did. So I'm writing down what my goals were, and then below that you'll see me put what paints I used. So I'd love to hear from you on what your experience has been with doing challenges like this for World Watercolor Month or Inktober or the 100-Day Challenge or any other types of, month-long or several months-long challenges. What have you enjoyed about them, and what have you struggled with? Am I alone in getting bored or frustrated or disengaged this early if I don't have an interesting plan? Thank you so much for watching. If you do want to see more, check out the next video that'll be on the end screen here. And happy arting.